All right. My mic is on. Um, okay, that is making sound. Okay, so we're gonna look at our game one, a ball of Hound. So the point of this little series that I'm doing is, I guess I can pin. How do I pin messages? I don't even know. Oh, whatever. Either way, so we're gonna go through these pretty quick. So the whole point of this Hound strat is that you're buying Hound. Uh, I know, amazing. The unit is broken right now, I believe. These are all my ranking games from a new account. So this is 10 games, and I'll show you where my placement is at the end. And this goes all the way up to playing 1800 level players so far. So we have Simple Hound. We load up one side. We have an extra protection on our flank here because we don't have a tower level. I think this is bad positioning. I think over in this area is better. Um, just small things. I think this is also bad. I should only be buying one Hound and I should be buying a marksman as well, but I probably don't need it as badly since I do have two steel ball into this build. No chaff, I mean, makes it really easy for me to play. I just eat the board to start with. I don't think anybody can argue that. This game is kind of a wash. Obviously, this player is more learning just if you saw his positioning with his arc lights and his sledges. So I'm not going to talk too much about this game in particular. We are Farseer spec versus quick supply, so opponent gets an extra 200 supply over us at the beginning of the game, which means he should have an advantage and should win the first round, typically. But doesn't happen. Positioning was a little poor for opponent, and he leveled the tower round one. So I don't get it. You click link round two so you can understand where this game's going. Pretty straightforward. Link, not the best. We'll go to round 5 here. Scorpion has come out on a drop, I believe, on round 4. I got my Farseer at the same time, which I'm putting behind. I have a level 3 ball. I think I'm selling this one to get this guy to level 4 with the enhancement module from this round, I believe. Scorpion, I think, is good pickup because it's level 3. If it wasn't level 3, I would say Scorpion is kind of actually bad at this point in the game because I have a level 3 Hound and some level 2. My Hounds didn't really get very many levels this way, which is surprising. Or maybe not surprising, but, you know, there's no chat for them to feed on. And my steel balls are eating all the sledges, right? So this is just basically a steel ball aggro game. But you can see I am building a lot of Hounds in this game in particular because I know my balls are my carry unit essentially in this game, and these are just distraction. And tanks have a hard time actually killing Hounds. So do the arc lights. Scorpion's the only thing that does any damage along with the Phoenix on his board. So he just has a bunch of very expensive chaff in the front and Scorpion and some Phoenixes, which I have my one-up shoot unit. Again, very greedy for the one-up shoot unit, but you can get away with this loading up on one side, I believe, until there are mass units like Wasps or Mass Phoenix. So at that point, you can just build a factory with, or sorry, not a factory, fortress with anti-air barrage. So as you can see, that's kind of how the rounds go throughout this whole thing. We'll jump to round 7, so we're not in this game very long. Raiden came out, I guess, and a melting point. Again, I think these are fine reactions, but, you know, his chaff board is the problem. He doesn't have any effective chaff. I took range because of the Scorpion. I didn't want my balls getting too close without chaff in front. I picked up two level 4 crawlers on a drop and some level 4 fangs on another unit drop and just put them in the back because they're just for my extra air clear, basically. And I'm just buying more Hound. More Hound, more Hound, more Hound right now. Again, not the strongest opponent, I would say. But it's just an idea of what you can do with this board with a supporting steel ball carry. I'm going to see we're going to get this tower very early, and that's basically the game right there. You can just tell I'm just eating the board, no problem. So we're going to go on to our next game. Which is going to be... Dreaming Hall, is it? No, it's not these. It's Robo. So we'll talk a little bit more into the idea is round 3, 4, you want to be taking range on your hounds. Maybe even round 2. It just really depends on the board state. And how many hounds you have, of course. So I'm quick supply here against cost control. I'm going to be building up on the right side again. I think this is one of the times I'm going to only go buy 1 hound and a different unit. I bought some chaff because there's saber-tooths. My steel balls don't do well into saber-tooths, but if my hounds kill everything else on the board, I am good. I took speed and I bought a second hound, so I bought 3 units on round 1 with quick supply. I could also opt for a marksman instead of the crawlers, but it's a choice you have to decide in the moment. I prefer if you do vertical sledges with the hound and buy a marksman as well and an extra hound. So this is more of what I think you should start your board out like with this kind of setup. I think it's more consistent of winning early rounds for you. We're going to speed this up so we can see. I mean, round 1, we should be winning almost every game round 1 with a ball hound, I think. So our single use of crawlers coming in handy. They survived and tanked shots from there. I take the marksman. I mean, it's a free upshoot unit for me. High single target damage. It can deal with phoenixes. It can deal with wraith. It can deal with raiden. It's great. It just has a hard time with the wasps, but my late fangs that I put as a defensive measure should come in and clean up while the rest of my ground army wins. These wasps actually do a lot of damage to my hounds, preventing levels, which is kind of a good thing for my opponent. I take the regen, put it on my level balls. Opponent places down some sledges. I don't think good response. I missile out the problem wasps on my board. I level up, and we continue on with some flank hounds on round 3. No range yet. I believe we're going to take that next turn, or maybe even on round 5. I think round 5 is a little slow, but sometimes with the unit cards that you're given, you're just short on cash because sometimes you get subsidized steel ball, and that's pretty good with this build, I believe. I think one of the things that stopped this build pretty hard in its track with subsidized steel ball is Vulcan. But a big problem with Vulcan is if you don't get it out early enough, armor enhancement can come out on your board once you get a couple levels on your hounds, and the Vulcans no longer do any damage. But that is not the case here today. Our opponent decides to go with the smorgasbord tactic of just building everything and hoping. Does pretty good against the steel balls, but we still get the kill on the saber, which is all that steel ball is really designed to do. Opponent did not level the tower yet, which he should be doing, I believe, would be good at this point. So I skip. Fire could have been nice for right here, but here comes the Vulcan, extended range Vulcan. So next turn, round 5, we've hit the Mech Rage. We forgot to missile out. We didn't have the money for it, so we're gonna suffer a little bit from that. But we have a flank going, and we're probably going to take this, and that's going to help us the rest of the way. I mean, just the mass units as well. And our our marksman killing the air. And we're going to end the next round probably with armor on the hounds, would be my guess of what I pick. Probably a skip for me. I have nothing worthwhile upgrading that's 250 cost. I mean, for opponent, he could probably upgrade one of these, and then if the boat had a level, that would be great for opponent. Yeah, here comes the armor. So now the 89 damage is now blocked by a level 3 Hound at, what is that? 6, 120, 180? 180 damage block. So, you know, a third of, or a quarter of, yeah, almost a third of the damage from the sledges. Crawlers absolutely do nothing with 78 damage, and so on and so forth. That is how this game goes. This is just basically Hound spam with my starting units and a couple unit drops still. Nothing unique yet has been played. There was one thing I want to look at on round 4. So if we look here, opponent missiles out, right? These crawlers, right? So these guys are 2 units behind. This is an important micro decision mistake, and fine for now. So we'll see. I think it's this round, and then the next round is also another thing I want to talk about. So we'll just wait for that to get there. So the positioning here is poor. These guys should be back 1 more square. It's fine for this round, as you see. It just clears out the crawlers, but not hits the hounds. But when you click Mech Rage, like we did in this round, you can see where if I position this 1 square back further, when you see his missile come out, even though... Yeah, the Mech Rage comes out. So this speed difference of getting that extra speed is going to mean all these, but I think 1 dog dies here. No, yeah. So that's a positioning thing. Good to know. Alright, and we'll go on to the next game. Alright, so Marksman Specialist versus Supply Spec. We are starting without Hounds this time, just to show how stupid Hounds are. We're starting off with Tarantula and Marksman, and we're going to start off by buying 2 Hounds. As is the strategy, because Hound are broken. Now, I think this is probably some of the weaker setups for Hound. So this is Hound into Hound. Like, I think this is like our first initial build that I think is viable on the enemy, but the opponent doesn't actually... Well, we'll see what happens, basically. So my marksman doing work, clearing the steel balls, which is nice. And because we're Tarantula, we place on the left side, because most people play on their right side if they're playing aggressive. That is a decision. I took subsidized steel ball, or no, opponent did, I did not. I was thinking about it, it is good, but I was actually worried if my opponent picked it up, I was going to have problems, which is why I went around to range. Because I figured I need to do damage as soon as possible with these hounds to get them leveling. So the more shots they can take, the more levels they will achieve. So we lose that round. We only got 1 level, which is disappointing. I thought about redeploy and the heavy armor. I think redeploy might be good, but I also think more Hound is also just better. I keep the Tarantula this round, and I drop 5 missiles, of which 3 of them go off. Actually, this was a round 1 placement, wasn't it? And we win the round. We're taking out a couple of steel balls with good missiles and some extra units. So I took out these guys and some of this. Opponent takes the Sabertooths. I take the Typhoons. I'm deciding on my placement. I'm not sure if this is the best place for it. Opponent also takes Armour on the Hounds. I think this is a critical error by my opponent on his board. I think you should be clicking Mech Rage if you're choosing between the two early. Just for a simple fact, level 1 Hounds with Armor block 60 damage of, 600. Doesn't matter. You're going to want the attack speed. It's just better. So I think that's the critical error my opponent made, as along with not building more steel balls, because I think he could just easily click Mech Div and chain, potentially, or even Suck against my board. I don't know if Suck is that good, but Mech Div is. Opponent sold the flank. I think he should have... I mean, maybe not. I had 2 units defending. I placed some crawlers in front here, as you can see, and we're going to get this flank tower because opponent hasn't committed enough to stop it. Until we get that tower, and we're just going to mow down our opponent. So, I think Fort might have been the better pick for me here. Not that I think it matters, because Hound is just too strong. So the problem I see with Wraith is I already have Marksman. They're going to kill the Wraith with some time. I'm not going to instantly just pop them out of the sky or anything, but we're essentially at the point now where we're blocking 120 to, was it 60 times 5? So 250, 290 damage or 80 damage or something like that. Some stupid, ridiculous number, which is basically half of the Hound's damage. Nowhere near. Steel Ball ramp up is like non-existent. Mustangs do nothing at this point, except for crawler clear. We got two marksmen lock on pretty early because our Hounds just clear everything underneath, no problem. And we can move on to our next game. Where are we? We're on Wyreich. Okay, so we got missile spec for our opponent, and we took Fortified Specialist, increasing our HP by 17%. Our starting units is Mustang Crawler into Saber Crawler. And we are going to continue the tradition of building more Hounds. I do believe buying a Marksman here and another Crawler might be the better way to start this build, period. But we are playing Hound, so we're going to play Hound. And this heavy, high HP board actually is going to give us some problems from the looks of it early on. We just don't have the units to deal effectively. But we take out one of the Sabers, which is huge, and if we can take this Arclight out, we actually could potentially get close to killing the Saber, but it looks like it's not going to get below half. If we had a Marksman or something on the board there, we might just clear the whole board. But it's hard to say. I took Underground. Opponent took Extended Range Vulcan, which is a big red flag for me to think about saving money for armor enhancement and to really start committing into my Hounds, because it's just good. Low HP target that's going to deal no damage to my Hounds later on is great. We got the Crawler Underground doing work, and the flank as well, which is going to be supported by some Hounds in the later coming rounds. Sadly, this tower timing does wonders for opponent, but it also prevents opponent from killing more chaff in some ways. But these crawlers are doing God's work for my opponent. I probably could have killed everything here without the tower debuff, but it looks like I'm only barely going to get that saber tooth, and that's about it. Alright, so we took the Phantom Ray, opponent took the Worm. I guess the idea of Worm is it's like Scorpion, but melee. You get some good clear, and you got a lot of HP that I have to work through, but sadly with no upshoot, Phantom Ray is going to carry my board, and with damage as well, onto the Worm that I need, that burst, to get them down low, which will help my Hounds level a little bit quicker. Well, maybe not quicker, because, you know, the Rays are stealing kills. Alright, so additional deploy takes third worm, takes Mech div. I get range, and I spam out 3 hounds. Opponent takes 2 marksmen and techs AA, which I think is an error, because these Phantom Rays were really just a heavy unit that opposes my opponent's board in a way that is good, because there's nothing. I mean, if he's not killing the crawlers in front, it doesn't do anything for him to have the AA. He needs to deal with the problem on the ground first. So that is an error on my opponent's board. I think he thinks he should be able to clear these units no problem, but he just hasn't dealt with them at all, really. And I just keep building more, and the problem just keeps getting deeper and deeper unless he has a proper solution, which I believe he thinks he does with extended range Vulcan. Javelin and Efficient. Efficient is huge for me with additional deploy now, because now I basically have subsidized mech div balls that are not on the board that I can place, that do wonders into Worm. With this, with the Hound sitting behind the balls, and then the crawlers running in through, streaming through. This is what I would consider the god tier setup for Hound. I think is Hound steel ball with low cost, and you take Mech div. One of the only things that really disrupts this is Scorpion to a certain degree, because it kills the balls, which are a problem, as you can see. But the problem with that is the Hound eats Scorpion, which we'll see in a later game. So I sold my Phantom Rays. My opponent had Marksman with AA, so there's a value tech for me that he wasted 250 on that just doesn't do anything for him. Alright, so we got Fortress again. I'm going to take it because... Or no, opponent takes it. I take the Wasps, and I drop 4 Steel Balls with a... Did I dropped 3 Steel Balls there, because this one was already here. And we take Mech div, and as you can see, we just... I mean, these forks are actually doing quite a lot of work if you look. But it's just sadly not enough. With AA marks, they're not really going to be able to deal with the Wasp. The Wasp with the tech is probably a waste. I could probably have saved that and put it on the Hounds for maybe Mech Rage or something. Opponent takes, again, anti-air. Kind of a panic, I think, at this point. Doesn't know what to get. I have nothing on the front line, which is going to be remedied officially now with some crawlers on the front line. And just, you know, building a huge board with higher HP is just going to be impossibly difficult to go with. Again, opponent building the wrong unit at this point. I don't think Marksman help at all at this point. And we could chalk it up to a little bit of user error on going hard into the air defense when there was no need. So we can go on to our next game. So far nobody has really countered. Actually, I would say the fort was actually very good with the overlord, but he never committed into more of them, which probably could have been a good answer. Not saying it is the answer, but it did a lot of work for the opponent on my board. It really slowed me down. All right, game 5. So we got Firebadger into supply. This is did I build on the left? I thought I built on the right. Okay. So this is close to standard start. I'd prefer to be accompanied with either Fang or Crawler with the sledges, not Marksman. And then buying my own, or even Hound, to be honest. Hound sledge is really strong. And then you buy a single Marksman and an extra Hound, and it's a very good start, and you can sell out of your sledges very early. I skip, or opponent skipped, I take the missile. It's free, I get a kill, Marksman and a Crawler, 200 supply value, but opponent gets 300 supply value with his 50 cost missile that he does not get back again, so why not just take a missile? I guess if he doesn't kill the sledges there. We place Crawlers and a flank Hound. And we're just gonna take that flank very hard, very early. The missile, or the shield was for the missile. Phoenix was chosen just for the simple fact that my opponent doesn't have a lot of chaff. This is what opponent does here is actually really good, but I don't know if armor was necessary or worth it in the long term. It is very good to have 2 here, I think. It is a great defense, but again, it's a lot of supply for what, at the end of the day? Mediocre counter, a temporary counter to what is on the board. You know, blocking 60 damage from units that are dealing, what, 300 is probably not the value you're looking for. We take the cheat. Now, what are we doing? 300, block 60. Again, kind of negligible in my opinion, unless your whole board was Arclights, but can't really do that with Marksman on the board. And we just load up our side with Hounds again. So opponent's doing really well in the middle here. It's a bit of a problem. I am winning on the outside here. These armored Arclights are actually doing quite well. As you can see, I am not doing very well, and I get bailed out by a spell here. My opponent skipped. I don't know why. You could probably just end the game with the spell there, so... Again, I think that's a critical error on my opponent's part, and he continues to fortify that top corner. But he has put Mech Rage on the Crawlers. I finally solved my problem here of these Marksmen just eating these Hounds. And the Storm allows me to get into the tower no problem this round, and I think with that and getting some enough level 2 Hounds and maybe even a potential couple level 3 after this round, it is now uncontrollable for my opponent. I take the 2 Rhinos because there is weakness coming from the corners, whichever way I come in. It will not matter. The missile for my opponent is a nice touch, but sadly, it does more harm than good in some ways, and we'll see that. We're actually going to slow this one down because this is actually very interesting to look at and to understand why this missile is bad. Alright, so the missile is coming in. It's going to land. We're going to slow down. everybody is going to target the rhinos. So all these marksmen are going to turn around, arc lights, whatever. When they finish their target, they're going to be targeting this guy. My crawlers come running in while my rhinos are tanking, and these crawlers just get ahead of my rhinos and take the tower, because the only chaff clear that is left are the marksmen. So we're just going to continue on through. Just a neat little thing in the game that is happening. That is something to take into account of what can happen to the board state. Again, opponent didn't know I was going to be placing rhinos there, so again, an error. But another reason why missiling early is sometimes bad if you're not guaranteed the target you want to hit. Now we're very close, about 200 HP difference between us. Rhino drop and an amp core. I took the rhino drop. Opponent put a melter in front and some crawlers. I think it's a good response for the rhino, but again, the rhinos weren't the problem. It was the crawlers coming in behind the rhinos that were the problem. And basically with my crawlers at the sledge line when yeah, they're just right there in his face. The mech rage on the rhino and the extra rhino on the flank doing work as well, just coming in, killing that tower for free, because there is no defense other than a single marksman and some sledgehammers, which I guess it is 2 hits for each sledgehammer and 1 hit and 1 hit, but still. Alright, we're on game 6 now. We are speed specialist, so we get +3 speed, and we are fighting elite specialist who get 100 extra supply on the first round and can only get rank 2 or higher with elite recruit. It is Collar Hound into Sledge Arc. I didn't know how this was going to go because, you know, Stormcaller decent into Arclight, terrible into Sledge. So I'm probably going to be selling. We take the single marksman. And we load up the one side for a strong elite spec. The blue crawlers are doing wonders for my opponent, but I think I mitigated probably as much damage as I possibly could have with the blue crawler start. I don't think there's much more I could do other than buying an Arclight. I get bailed out here with the Badger. Kind of unfortunate for my opponent. I load up my side and I didn't have enough for the tower upgrade, which probably is worse than the missile in this case. Just for the simple fact that blue crawlers do go eat through level 2 towers very quickly. I am going to have to put somewhat of a defense over there. I think it's going to be Hound and Fang to deal with the blue crawlers. The marksman doing work. Killing the phoenixes. And the Badger doing lots of work. So I got 4 levels there, so a good 100 supply in 2 levels on round 3. Feels good. I can click range, I can level them all up. Well, not all of them because of the missiles, but the frontline one, not as valuable as the ones behind. And we get our Fang flank defense, and we get the Wasp Swarm that is going to do wonders. I'm very confused why our opponent didn't take it. My board is very one-sided, and I mean, it makes it obvious where I have to defend, but I have to defend all 3 positions, so that's why I had the 2 missiles and the Fangs and the Hound on my left flank. All for the air defense and trap clear. Opponent sells the crawler on the left. My opponent took efficient giant manufacturing, I believe, on round 3. So I knew this was coming out, which puts ideas in my head of Steel Ball. He committed to the fortress, which I assume he had to by himself. Um, and he took additional deploy this round, which sucks because he only deploys the one unit, even after the cell. And we get the flank this round because of the giant pickup. Undefended tower, not even leveled. Just allowing my hounds and marksmen to eat that fort at level 2. And even killing one of my other marksmen, because I had 2. Alright, I took the Steel Ball. I think it made the most sense, even though I don't have any answer to air other than 1 Fang and 2 marksmen. I believe there's no way I shouldn't be picking up the Steel Ball here into fort on the line. We got level 2 into a level 1, so we're going to eat and feast. And we get that tower debuff, which is going to do wonders for us, allowing our Hound from our back flank to do massive damage to that fort, while the fort is dealing with the crawlers on it. And my Fangs are dealing with 2 packs of level 2 wasps, and then with the help of a marksman, we get to clean up. Opponent took absorption, which is good. I think that's great on one of the forts. If he has Overlord, but he doesn't, he has Rocket Punch, which could be good. I think Rocket Punch might be okay here. I think that's what I'd be going for. I'm tying up this Arclight, potentially this one as well, from this Hound from eating these Fangs before eating the Arclights, but that's for other rounds to deal with. We clean up nicely on the right, and the Steel Balls just barely get it done on the left. We have placed our first set of Mustangs on the board to help with the Wasp problem. We opt for not buying a shield because we don't need the shield with the Wasp drop, and we also don't need the shield for the simple reason is we're ahead by so much that the 100 supply for the shield isn't that valuable to me. So opponent takes multi-melter, which I think is good. Sadly, I know it's not good into Mech Div balls, which is what I'm running. We get the tower super early, and we just kind of smash this round because our opponent still has yet to defend the Wasp Swarm. So that's another critical error on our opponent's board. In this game also we take a late Mech Rage in favor of Mech Div balls earlier. Typically I click Mech Rage on round 5. I believe we clicked it on round 6 or 7. We opt for some more balls and some more stangs on the last couple rounds just to deal with the wasp. At this point it's just, you know, build more ball, that mech divide, because there's going to be too many targets for our opponent to deal with. Alright, next we got our game 7, which is going to be Amplify Specialist versus Supply Specialist. So Amplify Specialist gives us 3 devices, giving us a 20% buff to our HP and attack on the units that it's placed on. And Supply Specialist gives the opponent 50 supply every round. It is going to be a Ball Arc start for me and a Tarantula Fang start for the opponent. We're going to be loading up on this right side, or maybe even the left. Formation is not my own in this case. I can't remember whose formation this is, but I wasn't sure how the best way to start with the arcs were. I figured it would be kind of like a steel ball start where you place them on the line anyway, where you have the steel balls on either flank, but instead we're just loading up on one side. So we bring the other Arclight over. Arclights actually do quite well into the fangs in front to absorb the damage from the steel balls for the tarantulas. Sadly, my opponent probably should have picked up marksman, I think, in this scenario, instead of the Arclights. I don't understand what the Arclights were for. Opponent takes redeploy. I also take redeploy. I sell one of the steel balls. I buy Hound and 2 crawlers, which we're going to flank with. I think there's a micro arrow here for me. I probably should be flanking on this side, but that is fine. Over here as well, to show you that even small mistakes don't matter too much with this board because Hound is just broken. The Scorpion comes out this round, but sadly there is nothing for the Scorpion to shoot at except for Hound and Arclight. So here, another micro error on my part, which actually I think is going to lose me a little bit. This is a problem for me. Sadly, if I had my steel balls like right here, we would have went straight to tower, got it really early, came over, probably cleaned up all this, and then we get this tower pretty early as well because of that. I don't know if my balls get over in time to clear this out, but it would have been better than what the outcome is in reality for this turn. We could play this back, but we won't bother because there's no point in seeing a minor improvement on our board for maybe 200 supply. But I mean, we still get the XP for all this, but we have to feed through some fangs. Alright, we both take Phantom Rays. Badger was offered, so we're Storm Callers. I don't remember what the other one was. We get flanked. Well, looks like we have some flank protection, quote-unquote. Hounds for the crawlers that were there that were moved. Not the best defense here, but with the beacon coming in from the middle, we have a much worse time. Actually, not very good at all, which is a shame, but our Phantom Rays killing some of the big units this time. We're stopping the bleed. The flank's doing wonders for the opponent. Obviously, this setup is not the best. I need... No, want to swap sides. I think I just decide to missile out. Or no, I have to respond to this side, and I can missile out this side. That's right. I take the Ion Blast because, I mean, what's 800 damage HP onto my board gone? Good for me? Yes, so we're definitely going to do that. Round 5, we still have not clicked Mechanical Rage, which is what I think is the round we need to be clicking it most of the time. But thankfully, with the Ion Blast, it's not needed this round, so it kind of buys us a round of not clicking the tech. Potentially giving us some levels on some Hounds where they are needed. Looks like 2 units of Hounds leveled. We do a lot of damage that round. And it looks like only actually 1 Hound leveled. And we click Mech Rage. We level up 2 of our Phantom Rays. We put another Phantom Ray over here. We put Crawlers. I probably should have put Fangs, maybe. Not really sure what's the best over here. Opponent took the Armour energy shield on the Phantom Rays, which actually probably makes him win back here. But I am winning here, so it doesn't matter what happens over there. I will remedy that problem in the future. But right now it is not seeming to be a problem until that tower debuff, where all my air clear is dying. Which is a shame, because that would have been a good 1,000 damage otherwise, I believe. Instead, I take a couple hundred. We both take the rhinos. I think this is a pretty easy pick for both of us. Again, Scorpion, a level 3 rhino. It's going to take a couple shots to knock it down. I'm moving very quickly, so that isn't a problem for me. And we're doing the corner flank. We're going to move over our steel balls over there, and this is just wondrous. This this Hound alone. Look at what it does. We'll slow it down for you. Look at this Hound. Look at this Hound. This flank, useless. Useless because of the pull here. But you can see like how exposed his towers are from the flank pulls. Obviously, players aren't aware of that at this MLR or don't know how to respond appropriately. But that was a thing that happened in a lot of games actually. The flanks were not secured. But the Hounds just eat. Obviously, I have a little bit of an air problem, which I think is typically an issue I have with these boards, but I win the ground so heavy that the air doesn't really matter that much because I can solve that problem later. While my opponent still has a Hound problem that is just going to be growing now with levels because I don't need to place units to deal with clearing the ground anymore. The javelin is nice and easy for me. Opponent takes it to blow up my 3-stack in that one corner. I sell one of the rhinos, I place it on the other side, and I'm going to run it straight at that tower. We're going to level it and mech rage that rhino. We may photon as well, I can't remember. We take anti-missile for the phantom rays. We put a missile device on the last round to prevent some damage from the phantom rays. An opponent heavy, 2 scorpions right here. We end up getting the rhino as well, which is a bonus. And we get that tower very quickly. And that is game, I believe. Yes. And that was... So now we're on to game 8 of our seeding. Is this another... This is another amp specialist. I believe we're taking this one. So we're Tarantula Crawler into training spec, which means they can level up once per round, every other round. They start with a Saber Crawler. We take our 2 Hounds. We have our Amp Core, which we are going to be placing on our 2 Hounds because we are playing Hound Core. So our Tarantula eating the Arclight is good for us. Our 2 Hounds still alive, surviving, killing the Sabertooth, which is huge value for them for the XP gain. Hopefully they gain some XP for that, which they did not, sadly. And now we have the tower farming. If my Hounds get that tower with their XP, they level up, which is huge for my Hounds. I would love if that were a thing. They got some XP. Hopefully they get some more XP. Oh, and they get the kill, I think, and the XP, which is big. We took the steel ball for the simple fact that we can't deal with the Firebadger yet. It's just as simple as that. We can't deal with it because we can't click armor yet. So we're going to be taking some damage from that, so we have to prevent that damage, and the only way I know how to do that is by, sadly, feeding a Sabertooth. And for the simple fact I don't need chaff clear either, so I'm worried about more killing. The missile came out so I could actually kill the chaff, and this hit the Sabertooth. I didn't know the Firebadger was going to be there, but we only lost 2 of our steel balls there, which was actually a lot better than I thought was going to be. But I mean, that's the power of level 2 leveled steel balls. They are tanky. Both take amp. I place it on my corner flank here that happened last round that we may have not seen. We're taking the level 3 or the round 3 range enhancement with an extra Hound crawler, and we're taking speed because we want those balls getting in there dealing damage and tanking for our Hounds. And our back flank just demolishes the flank because our opponent did not have a proper response for it. These level 3 Firebadgers are doing wonders for my opponent, being the leader. Almost, was that 1,000,000 damage almost? Almost 100,000 damage in 4 rounds. Actually, I guess technically 2. I have sold my balls. My Hounds have gotten their levels. We are playing 1 more Hound and 2 elite recruited Phoenix. We place the Hound here. The fire comes out from my opponent, or the oil I should say, just kind of melting my board. But again, my opponent hasn't dealt with the flank yet, which is going to allow my Phoenixes to probably end up carrying the rest of this game here. There is only a pack of Fangs, which my Hounds should be able to clean up, along with my opponent's fire. We're going to skip this because it's just going to take a while for that all to die. I take the Rhinos. Again, same idea as the steel balls. They can tank a shot or 2 from the Scorpion. I sell one because I'm using them for money, and I put one on the flank just to kind of tank. Opponent takes AA on the marks, which I think is a bit of an overreaction. He has a problem with the Hound still is the problem on the board, not the Phoenix, though the Phoenix does a lot of work. But the problem is he doesn't have anything protecting his Firebadgers, so his Firebadgers are protecting everything behind. So he has some level 5 Badgers, which again are seemingly not that much of a problem. I mean, again, the Phoenix didn't even deal any damage to the first level 1 Badgers. It was all Hounds just punching away. And the Rhino tanking a little bit for my Hounds in the back. Opponent actually has a decent enough response. I have not solved my problem of protecting this Hound on the side with crawlers or fangs or anything yet. So it is a problem on my board that is not being addressed appropriately, but there are parts of my opponent's board that are not being addressed properly either. So I have the more of a problem for my opponent than my opponent does for me. I think I'm taking the haste. I think I tempo out with the haste, plop it on one of these guys here, maybe even this guy, and put it over here. We definitely need to put a crawler in front then. So we sold one of our Phoenixes because of the AA marks. Our opponent bought 2 Vulcans, which again will not be a problem late game for me. I actually took armor this round because of the Firebadgers, so my opponent doubling down on units that will long term not do well into my units. We have a little bit of a flank going on, solving our problem here, not having this whole army come run down from this angle. And instead we get that tower first, still from this back flank, has not been dealt with. These Hounds are just doing work Another haste module. We take an anti-missile device just in case. We place a crawler down to protect, another anti-missile device, and one on the left flank as well. I'm kind of scared of, I guess the only thing that really stops me right now is maybe incendiary or napalm on the Firebadgers. But that seems to not be the case. Opponent does place down a missile that is going to get caught by my anti-missile devices. So I do get some value back out of those, even though not much. I guess there are storm callers as well on my opponent's side. Man, my missile there absolutely does nothing on the right there for the Firebadgers, which is... And this time, our corner flank with our two hasted Hounds just pushed through the corner here, and we take the game, I think, on this round. Not quite. Next round is basically just going to be the same thing repeated. Orbital Javelin, Mobilized Battleship. Mobilized Battleship I was worried about. I think it was the only thing that could really slow me down here. By my opponent potentially another round, since I only have one Fang and a Phoenix for upshoot at the moment. I am going to buy another Phoenix, unless I have already. No, I have not. Opponent doubles down on the Vulcans by his Armour. Again, Armour doesn't do anything and only blocks 60 damage, and when you are dealing with 2,000 damage at a time, that is all that it is at the moment. There is the Phoenix. We're going to place a crawler in front, and we're going to beacon straight across in worry of that battleship being dropped in, the Overlord. Again, we place this missile here. It does almost nothing. Point here, our Javelin doing lots of damage here. But as you can see, our Hound over here are not taking any damage to the fire. And almost no fire to, or no damage from the fire on the ground either. So as you can see, Sprinkler not even needed with Armour. And high levels, of course. All right, on to our game 9. For our seeding, our MMR calibration, if you will. So we have 3 choices here. We take the Marksman. So we have Ball Hound into Cost Control, Saber, Arclight. We buy 1 Marksman, 1 Hound, and this is probably more akin to a proper build. I dislike this placement of the Steel Ball. Simple, easy to missile all 3 of these units out with a missile somewhere around here. Right? Like, they clump up very easily, but again, it's a round 1, 2, 3 problem, not a long-term problem. Alright, so again, opponent plays standard. We just win our side because we're rushing one side down. You know, big weight is better than spread out weight. You know, wrecking balls are better compact, and that's what steel balls are for. I don't think I have many notes for the early game for this one. We get the free Marksman. Which is kind of big. So we got a big damage dealer protected by Hound and Steel Ball right now. Allows us to chunk through that Sabertooth very quickly for our Steel Balls, allowing them to get the kill very quickly. And then my Steel Balls tank for my Hounds on the right, so they can eat those Mustangs. And the tower up. Is it even upgraded yet? Yes. We got 3 levels on our Hound. We're taking intensive for both of us. I don't think I have enough cash because of the way I built to upgrade another time. Again, great value by opponent. Could have been I mean, actually it couldn't have been because the crawler. Couldn't have been all 3 units, but that's fine. The Hounds are already at the point where as long as they clear the chaff out, the level 3 marksman is just gonna kill the rest of the board. Sadly, the steel balls aren't able to tank the Mustangs for my Hounds. I take the 3 times Phantom Ray, and after my other game of being flanked by Phantom Ray, I decide not to place all my stuff on the front line here, especially with a 3-unit drop, and I'm going to defend and flank. And we'll see that in a second. So there's a defense, there's another defense, and there's our flank. Again, all going to be a problem for my opponent. Opponent has sold out of a Sabertooth in favor of a ranged Scorpion already, and as we see, we're just eating through. Opponent has too many problems on the board for such a high level unit, high cost unit. You know, he spent, what, 50 on the Scorpion, or maybe it was a unit drop. If it was a unit drop, it would have been level 2. So he spent 600 in supply, and now he drops another 2, so another 600 supply. So he spent 6, 9, 1200 supply on 1200. Now it is another 300, so 1500 supply minus the unlock cost, so 1500 supply. Rhino drop just comes in. The fire actually doing work. The problem with this fire here is it's not aggressive enough, and all his upshoot dies, sadly. Opponent could have had a nice round where he probably only takes damage from the rays on the left that I have, potentially, or actually wins the round fully there. So minor error, we have our Mech Rage and Range. We are going to start feasting on the board with our Hounds, level 3 and 2 across the board. So there is nothing stopping these. Only one level 1 Hound on the board at the moment. Some crawlers to protect the Hounds from the Scorpions. And opponent's board is actually looking quite okay. Scorpion is doing work. The Raiden out for the Phantom Rays, just not enough chaff clear at the moment from opponent. Maybe a Vulcan would be good here. I don't know if Vulcan is the answer. It would clear a lot of that fire there, but again, we're going to be closing out this game with a nuke, it seems. And we're taking underground on our crawlers so they can get that extra little bit of speed getting in front of our, rather than being only 2 move speed ahead of our Hounds. They're now a couple more. And the crawlers are doing work, keeping the enemy busy close to their tower, and we close out the game with an easy nuke. And finally, our game 10 against an 1800 level MMR player. So if you think Hound is bad and you can't beat 1800 MMR, I've just gone through MMR calibration and we are now finally on our boss. 1800 MMR. Opponent. We are going to be taking Farseer Specialist. Our opponent is taking Typhoon. We have a... Honestly, I'd rather have my opponent's board than mine. I think he could tempo me out very easily if he commits to Hound and pushes with them. I think this time we are deciding on keeping both Stonecrawlers and playing a relatively standard formation where you can fit your giants in between. I think this is pretty typical for people to see with the vertical crawlers. Or fangs, I should say, not crawlers. My Stormcaller's carrying me in these early games, killing lots of steel balls and big blob right here. And the tower debuff is going to just clean up the rest. Did I take the shield device? No, opponent took a advanced shield. I believe, yeah, we Fang for the back flank. We upgrade the tower. We double flank. Again, Stormcallers might get some big value. They do. Looks like we're going to lose this round. Our Stormcallers are kind of, even if they are our main damage dealer, they're falling off hard. They're not doing the job that they need to do. Again, Phantom Rays or Phoenix. I take the Phoenix. I don't have a lot of single target. I think they're a little better than the Phantom Rays in many ways. Opponent goes with the flank here, which is good. I think it's a very heads-up play by my opponent. I sold one of the Stormcallers. The other one's going to get sold eventually, I believe, because they just don't do much. And the steel ball flank is doing wonders for my opponent. We both take the laser sights. Opponent takes range on the Hound. I take mech rage on round 4. Very early mech rage for my playstyle. Usually it's a round 5 or 6 mech rage, but this is a very early mech rage this game. The Farseer helping slow down that flank push massively. Which is what I'm looking for, is solving part of a problem to a point where it's no longer a problem. As you can see, they're feasting on that level 2 tower, just not getting through it quick enough before I get the opponent's tower, which is all I need from that flank defense on that tower. The steel balls were just pushing through too quickly, so I needed to stop the steel balls. Anything else didn't really matter. As my Phoenix here will clean up the rest of the board, hopefully. And they do. Again, not a huge damage win, but a problem solved. Makes me a happy camper, and I'm going for the Wasp flank. My opponent does not defend. I placed down an anti-missile device because of the Stormcallers. They're doing a little too much work on my Fangs, and I don't like it. Opponent takes oil as well this turn, and I protect my flank with an extra level 2 Hound. My Wasp Swarm got caught up on the steel balls, and it took a very long time to get to the tower, though I do have 2 of my Phoenixes alive, which is huge. We're having a kind of a repeat -2 Phoenixes for me of the last round, but I get Wasp instead, which is probably just as good. Though it looks like the tower timings might be much worse this time. I lose my anti-missile device, 100 value gone. And we barely win with a single Phoenix. So we take the Sabertooth, we take Armour, opponent takes fire on the Hound. We place the Sabertooth right on the right there, just kind of tank everything on that right side corner. So my Hounds here can actually shoot and kill things. Though it dies relatively quickly, I think it did its job. I have a bit of an air problem, and that's about it at the moment. Actually, I have a missile problem and a wasp problem, right? That's what we could all agree on. So, what is the solution here? Of course, it is very obvious it's Amplify Core. I'm kidding, that's not the answer to the problem on the board. The answer is, of course, Mustangs with anti-missile and range. We don't need anything else on the board. That is it. Take a couple missiles, or a couple shields for any other shenanigans. And now suddenly my opponent has level 2 Stormcallers that no longer do much. He has level 3 Phantom Rays that don't deal damage. And Hounds that shoot fire for no reason. That cost 400. And now we take in the fort. I think I could have skipped the fort here. I think it wouldn't have really mattered what I picked at this point. Opponent takes a quick reload on the Stormcallers. I think good response to the anti-missile in general, especially if you want missiles to get through. I think it's relatively okay. We put down the fort shield because that's just more HP that the opponent has to get through to get to the Hounds and the Mustangs. And we win our flank side as well, with the tower debuffs doing a lot of work for us. Additional deploy. What are we building? Okay, so we protect our flank here from some of the Stormcallers. We don't have a lot of anti-missile on this side. The opponent doesn't have a lot of missile either on this side. Just the 3 units. Versus the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on this side. Maybe I missed one. Maybe it's even 11. I don't know. And we place down the fire, burning his board in a chance that my opponent has fire, and I'm sure he's not going to defend his own fire, so why not just burn the whole board? The wasp spam on this side did wonders for my opponent. But I do have Mustangs that do not run through the fire. And that should be cleanup as long as one of my forts survive and all the Mustangs, and it looks like my Farseer as well, and 2 Phoenixes. So, that is 10 games calibration of spamming Hound. Do you think you can beat Hound?